Oh, I didn't know you started the recording it. I'm sorry. All right, well, that's a hell of a way to start the show. Here we go. How's it going, everybody? We would like to welcome you to episode 29 of Battin and Chattin on the Eastern Observer. Alongside Brandon Natale, I'm Denis Tuohy. Before we get started, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube to be kept in the loop on everything Eastern Observer, and most importantly, Battin and Chattin. Our show can be found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever else podcasts can be found. Our show is presented to you by Black Cats NYC. Be sure to download their newest hit single, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us, which can be found wherever music is found, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SiriusXM Satellite Radio, and many others.
That's right. And this is, believe it or not, this is part 2 of our Battin Chat and pre-Hall of Fame announcement. And when we covered a lot in the last episode, we covered obviously stuff in the sports world and the baseball world. Matter of fact. But now we have, but then we dived right into the Hall of Fame, talking about Bobby Abreu, Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltre.
Yep, we got from Bobby Abreu to Matt Holliday, but we skipped over Todd Helton. I don't know why that happened.
Mark Buehler.
Mark Burley.
I keep doing it. Looks like Buehler.
It's a weird spelling, man.
It's a weird spelling.
Really
it looks
is.
like Buehler.
Really
like it's sorry, Ferris Bueller, and sorry, Mark Buehler. I'm gonna keep Burler. I'm gonna keep messing it up.
Like
Burley.
Big burly guy. That's the way I always
burly guy. Okay,
he's
got
a
it.
big guy. He's a big
boy.
We
talked about Toy Hunter too.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of players.
We got through about half of it. We did Bobby Abreu, Jose Bautista,
last time than I thought. Joey's gonna be shocked when he reads it, when he listens to it.
Adrian Gonzalez, Bartolo, Colon.
Yeah, we really covered a lot.
We got through a good chunk.
We did. Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
We did get through a lot.
I'm proud.
Yeah. All right. So let's clap it up. Clap it up.
Why not? Right.
That's great. All right. Cool. So and yeah, there's a lot of videos of Manny Victor Martinez. There's a lot of players we got to talk about. Andruw Jones.
Yeah. Now this is gonna get fun because spoiler alert for later on when I give you my Hall of Famers. First video, I didn't really have anybody.
Okay.
I had two.
Let's get to.
All right. So we got to start with Todd Helton because I'm doing it in alphabetical order. Is the way I'm thinking of. So we'll start with Todd Helton.
All right.
And I think that's also the first guy I have on my. All right. So if you're just joining us, if you didn't check out part 1, I guess they're going to be released in one video. So. You guys already know what we covered in part 1, assuming that you watched both parts. We just kind of went through every single player and just their candidacy and overview of who they were as a player, some stats, some accolades, things like that. And then at the end of the program, we're going to say who we would vote for. Obviously, we're both young studs in our early 20s, so we're not in the BBWAA yet. Maybe. Who says no, right? Got to believe. And so we're not Hall of Fame voters. But we're saying if we were, these are the players we would vote for. A little rundown of the Hall of Fame rules. You're allowed 10 players per Hall of Fame ballot. You are not allowed to exceed that limit. I think that should be abolished, personally. I think this ballot is a perfect example of it. I came up with, I'll say it later on, I came up with 14 guys that I would vote for on this ballot. I guess technically 15, but one of them, off-field accusations and things like that, completely eliminated him from me voting for him. So, yeah. Quick, I guess, news around baseball before we begin with that.
I think no, we're just straight up. This is a straight up Hall of Fame.
Straight up Hall of Fame.
From my insight, from upper management and from the executives over at the Eastern Observer, I was inclined that we have to strictly go into just Hall of Fame.
You told me this and I forgot. You did.
Okay, I wouldn't be your brother if I didn't tell you.
Todd Helton.
There you go.
Here we go, my man. Listen, I think he gets screwed. I think when I think of Todd Helton, I think of a player who got screwed. And I think he got screwed because he played his entire career at Coors Field. And I think that's complete nonsense. In one hand, you have people always whining about how the small market teams, they get poached of talent. We saw this with Cleveland. They lost Manny Ramirez, Jim Tomei, a lot of guys, Albert Bell, Omar Vizquel. They lost a lot of guys in the 90s. You've seen this at different points with different teams, right? Miguel Cabrera leaves the Marlins. They're not going to re-sign him, so they trade him. The Reyes, many other teams, Colorado being one of them.
Yeah.
Larry Walker didn't spend his whole career with Colorado. Obviously, he was playing with the Expos before they're even a team, I think. But Trevor Story, they get rid of. They get rid of Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
Dante Bichette, Vinny Castillo. They never really had a guy. And this is similar to what I've always said on this program about David Wright. And that, the Mets never really had their guy as for position players. It was him and Cradepole. That was it.
Mm.
And Colorado, this was their guy, Todd Helton. And here are all the stats. There's a lot of bold. He should have won MVP in 2000. I love Jeff Kent. Politically, we disagree. Whatever. C'est la vie. He was good on Survivor. Love Survivor. You know that. Definitely shouldn't have won the 2000 MVP award. And people who say it's Barry Bonds don't know ball. If you click on the MVP 5 and for that year 2000 when it says fifth in MVP voting, click on that. Because I want the audience to see what I'm talking about. Keep scrolling down to NL MVP voting.
My God.
How is he not the Hall? And how did he not win it? I know you're a Mets fan. How the hell is somebody going to vote for Mike Piazza over Todd Helton that year?
I mean, Todd Helton, you look at the stats. He led the league in almost every statistical category, really.
Except
WAR. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Except games, he missed by 2. At-bats, runs, home runs, stolen bases, and walks. That's it. Batting average, OBP, slugging, OPS,
slope,
RBIs. He outslugged second place by 9. That was Sammy Sosa, who finished 9th to begin with. So that doesn't even matter.
See, number 15 is Eduardo Alfonso.
Yeah, another Met.
Eduardo, yeah. That's insane. I mean, just looking at the players, this is crazy. This is like early 2010. This is 2000, man. This is insane. I feel like I'm looking at like a time capsule. Not gonna lie.
216 hits, 17 more than second place Andruw Jones, who we'll talk about soon. Led the league in RBIs, and just look at the WAR. Look at the WAR.
That's
as a first baseman. That's not a position where WAR gets weighted fairly. Center field, that's where Andruw Jones is. He's 8th. He's second in WAR at 8.2. That is a position that accumulates more WAR on average than first base. And how does he do it? Everybody wants to talk about cores, power. 372 batting average. 372 batting average.
Why is Jeff
He
Kent,
hit for power. Yeah. He hit for contact. I love Todd Helton's game, man. I really do. And he gets he treated unfairly because he played in a spot that the way the air and everything is out and it was Coors Field at that point. It wasn't Mile High anymore. But
well, yeah.
It's the ball travels differently, and so many guys got screwed out of that. But at the same time, too, are we going to punish left-handed hitters for hitting at Yankee Stadium? So we're not going to put Todd Helton in the Hall of Fame because he played at Coors Field. But let's be honest, Lou Gehrig was a left-handed hitter and was, just launching nukes into the short porch at Yankee Stadium. I love Lou Gehrig. You know, he's my favorite athlete ever. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, right-handed hitters at Fenway, it's never been talked about that the Green Monster is a cheat code. The Kingdome, where Ken Griffey Jr. played, was a Little League field. Like, every single stadium is different. That's the beauty of baseball. It's different from football, basketball, hockey. The dimensions are different. The location is different. The geography is different. It's part of the appeal. It either matters or it doesn't. If it doesn't matter for 29 other teams, how come one team always gets screwed with it? Yeah. Are there pitchers getting Cy Young Awards or Cy Young Award votes because they're at a disadvantage? No. The pendulum has to swing both ways. And I think Todd Helton's case in that regard is indicative of why I don't like the voting system to begin with.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting. No, I'm sorry. It's insane. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
like we talk about like the character clause and whatever, and I'll get into that later on because there's one candidate in particular who I want to talk about it with. But yet somebody like Dale Murphy, who never had everybody always said the guy's like a saint of baseball. Did he get in? Borderline stats, but he was such a great guy. He didn't get in. So it either matters or it doesn't. You can't pick and choose when you're selective. So if we're saying 29 other teams, we're not going to care where they play. And just one team, we're going to harp on it, even when it's wrong. If you look at the road numbers during their primes from, I think, like 1990 to 97, Larry Walker was better on the road than Ken Griffey Jr. Because the Kingdom was a joke. And I'm not saying that he's better than Ken Griffey Jr. I'm just saying that every single team, there's advantages to play to. You know, pitching at Yankee Stadium, like we'll talk about Andy Pettitte later on. Yeah, his ERA is high. He was playing in the steroid era at Yankee Stadium. I would expect it to be pretty high.
Mm.
You know, it's different for everybody. It's not like, I get it. Back then, the ball was flying out of Coors Field way differently than it is now.
Ridiculous.
But still, I don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame. If that's the best you can do, that he spent his entire career with a small market team, remember that, then what are we doing here? It's kind of pathetic. 61.8 career WAR, 316 career batting average, an OPS plus of 133, league average is 100. He's 33 points better than average for his career. 369 home runs, 2,519 hits, 1,406 RBIs, 37 stolen bases. He had wheels. I'm kidding. I don't know what else you want me to say. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 4-time Silver Slugger, and won a batting title in 2000, the year he should have won MVP. It either matters or it doesn't.
It matters.
The course thing is nonsense, man. It's really nonsense.
You know, you spoke pretty well on it. If the fact that they're going to do that as a way to keep him from making the Hall of Fame, the fact that he played at Coors Field, which is I know it's definitely is highly talked about. You know, definitely for the way the ball goes. I know the ball travels light years, like it's going another galaxy far away.
Especially back then, before they made the humidifier for the balls.
Right, especially another galaxy far away. You know, so it's just, I think just looking at the stats, I think he makes a good case. I think the fact that they're going to use that as the way for him not to get in, to me is absurd. Especially in 2000, the fact that he didn't win in 2000 to me is an abomination. Nothing against Mike Piazza, but I'm sure Mike Piazza would even say. I think the reason why Mike Piazza was so high up there is because they went to the World Series. And I think with I think the reason with the Giants, maybe I don't know where the Rockies were that year in 2000, but maybe because the Giants were in the playoffs and they were regarded as the number 1 seed at that time. I know the Mets
in the same division.
Right. Yeah. So I know the Mets upsetted them in 2000. So I think they probably back then went it based on like where your team was too. So I guess it was more of like a team thing than an individual thing, which I mean, you look at his stats, Todd Helton had a ridiculous, he led in one of almost every single category. The fact that he was number 5, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Not even number ridiculous. 2. Like, come on, Barry. Even Barry Bonds would even say, like, I'm just, and no disrespect.
I doubt he would.
But Todd, like I said, Todd Helton, the stats were just insane. I think the fact that if they're going to use that as an excuse for him not to get in, the fact that he played in Colorado, like I remember seeing Todd Helton all the time. He definitely, like, before he retired, the man was Mr. Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Derek Jeter for the Rockies, essentially. Not comparing him to Derek Jeter.
Sure, no, you're right. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right. He was their guy.
So
and still is their guy.
So if he gets in the Hall of Fame, he's a Rocky, 100%.
The only great Rocky to play his entire career for Colorado,
and because
only one, even Larry Walker. I talked about the Expos thing. He went to the Cardinals after he played for Colorado, so he didn't even finish his career as a Rocky. Literally, the only one is Todd Helton.
He's their guy. So, and I think he should make it into the Hall of Fame. The fact, if they're going to use that as an excuse, then these Hall of Fame writers need to think otherwise. But anyway, so I think that's our case on Todd Helton. You want to talk about Andy Pettitte?
Why don't we save that one? Let's just go in order here.
Okay.
For the in alphabetical order, it's easier.
Sure.
Andruw Jones is
Andruw
next.
Jones. Okay.
Interesting, very interesting player, Andruw Jones. So this is an interesting one. I
Let
don't know.
Let me know when you want me to pull up the stats.
Yeah, you can do it whenever.
Okay.
I don't know with Andruw Jones. It is a very tough argument to be made either which way. He was so dominant until 2000 after the 2006 season. He was so dominant, and it all fell apart overnight. And if you look at it, the OPS plus is actually pretty decent even after that. 129 with Texas, 135 with the White Sox. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. 120 with the White Sox in 10, 126 in 2011 for the Yankees, and league average with Texas in 09. And then he falls to 87 with the Yankees. The batting average dropped significantly, but I guess he was still getting walked at a high enough rate that the OPS plus didn't really change. So a lot of people, the advanced analytics love Andruw Jones. The defensive advanced analytics says the best center fielder ever.
Really?
Certainly within the last 50 years. Yeah. And it's one of those, like in the eye test. I remember Chris Russo was talking about on MLB Network once that there are other guys, Gary Maddox, Devon White from the Blue Jays, guys like that were like eye test wise better than Andruw Jones. But the thing is, like, you have to watch him to really get it. He made it look easy. Like, he did a disservice to himself. Everything looked routine to him, but they were insane plays. And he had that stretch of 10 straight gold gloves, man. That's elite territory. The problem is he never hit 500 home runs. He capped out at 434.
He's got good stats, though, you know?
Still good stats. Absolutely. Career batting average 254. I think a lot of older voters are hung up on that.
I feel like he would need more hits.
Yeah, and I think
like
that's
he didn't hit the 2,000 mark even, you know?
That's the other thing. Is he was not an elite hitter. He was an elite power hitter. And maybe even elite power hitter is too much.
You look at the batting averages, a lot of them are just 231s, 270s, which is not bad, like 251, 261. I mean, which honestly, like, as a Met fan, like I would take that. I mean, either way, I would take 277 and I mean, not the average is better.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Any baseball team would take, like, the batting stats. They're really not that bad in the season because he's most of his career he's played almost like every game in the season, and stats are great. Obviously, you got I'll just read them from 98, to so on, and I'm just going 98, 270, 271, 99, 275, 2000. He had 303, and that's when he played. He only missed one game. That was honestly, I think that was his career high. Then the 251, 264. So yeah, I see what you mean. Where his batting stats don't pop off right away. I mean, they do, but they don't. I know what you're getting at. So I feel like if you look at him more, I'm sure you're going to probably look at him more as a defensive metric player to get into Hall of Fame, less of the offense. The offense is still there. It's like I feel like when you're looking at Pete Alonso, you like Pete Alonso. He's a power hitter. Average can be a little better, but great, decent defense. But that's really all you're gonna look at. It's when you look at a player for like just one individual mark, whether it's their offense or their defense. So it's hard to find when you find players that fit both of that.
Right, and I also think something that hurts him is he never won an MVP.
2005 is insane. Just looking at that.
Yeah, and he came in second that year. I don't know if you want to pull that up.
2005.
Yeah, click on the MVP too. I don't know who won it in 05. I don't recall.
Oh, wow.
Don Rodriguez. I don't know. Albert Pujols. All right.
Wow. Okay.
All right. And if you look at the numbers, if you look at WAR at least, he deservedly lost. I mean, he led the league in home runs and RBIs, but he had a lot less hits than Pujols, less stolen bases, a lot less walks.
My God, Pujols had a great year. Just the average, 330.
Yeah. To go along with 41 home runs. You can do a lot worse than that. So, all right, so he shouldn't have won that year. But I don't know, man. Like, it's tough with him. It's tough, especially because his career petered out pretty quick. Hall of Fame quick, 10 years or 11 years of like elite play, and then 6 years of average, really average. The OPS plus, I don't know. If you get walked a ton of times,
Yeah.
the true outcome thing, I've never been keen on personally.
Let's
But
say this,
it's
yeah.
he's kind of like the opposite of like Steve Finley, who's on every NL West team, excuse me, throughout his career, along with Baltimore, maybe a few other teams. And he finished with around the same WAR as Andruw Jones. Both center fielders in the same era. But he was so above average for so long that it just kind of accumulated into an excellent career. He's not in the Hall of Fame either. So part of me thinks if he's not in, then the inverse of somebody like Andruw Jones, who had a shorter peak, but an arguably more impactful peak, shouldn't be in either. Because, like I said, with Todd Helton, the pendulum's got to swing both ways. So I don't really know. But what I do know is defensively, you look at the numbers and the defensive analytics, I don't feel like getting into it because it is pretty intricate. But you look at the defensive numbers, they do not lie. The guy was like a top tier defensive center fielder ever, and arguably the best if you look at the stats for it. So you hear the way players talk about him who were teammates with him. The pitchers love him. They said center field was a black hole. We know it. It was what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see the argument for both ways.
Okay.
So I'll be
All right.
excited to see how it plays out because younger crowd with the as younger writers get onto the BBWAA and get their votes, they usually go to a more analytic based voting. And like I said, the OPS plus, even in the years where he was bad, the OPS plus is pretty good. It was about average. If you just, I didn't sit there with a calculator, but just turkey math, it seemed about average the last 6 years of his career at 100. But I don't know. It's
But
gonna be close.
I think it makes a case. So, but yeah, we'll get on that later. But what's the next player we should bring up?
Victor Martinez.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Victor Martinez. Is this his first year?
Depends on when he retired.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it is his first year. This was a guy, man, I remember watching him play, but I don't remember watching him play. I remember the name. I remember seeing him on MLB Network and whatnot and seeing highlights. I don't remember much about him. I really, he's kind of forgettable for me. I don't know why. Every other name I remember. But I just, for whatever reason, I can't remember Vimar.
5-time
I liked him
All-Star,
too.
2-time Silver Slugger. Wow, he didn't play in 2012. That sucks because that's when Detroit made it to the World Series that year against the Giants, and they got obliterated in 4 games.
Yeah, after they beat the brakes off my Yanks.
Yeah, yeah. You see, he played for Boston, and he's started off with Cleveland. Stats are a little weird in my opinion, a little wonky.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, they're just like, I mean, start off his career as batting average. I mean, no, the first 2 seasons, obviously, you see here, only 12 and 49 games. Obviously, the batting averages, they are the way they are. But then you look at the rest of them, 289, 305, 316, 301. Those are all like, not 162, but they're decent stats. You know what I mean? Let's see the home run totals. They're a little weird. Yeah, a little wonky, in my opinion. I know wonky's a little weird, but it's just, you know what I mean?
I mean, the one thing, he's not going to get in. We know it. We all know it. He's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 All-Star games. That's not bad.
I think he's got 5. He's got 5.
Oh, okay. I counted the same thing twice.
He's got a decent career, but I don't know if he has really the stats to do it.
The one thing that you can credit him on, a lot of RBIs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just good career. Really good career. Late bloomer too. Finished second in MVP voting at age 35.
Let's take a look
You don't see
who
that
won it that year.
too often. I didn't even realize that he was there in his,
Oh my
in
god.
his
Yeah.
30s.
I remember
I
him
thought he was on
too.
the Tigers like his whole career. I forgot he was on Cleveland. I had
I
no
remember
idea he
Victor
was
Mark.
on
Like
Boston.
now that it comes to mind, like I remember him playing too. You know what I mean? I'm saying like I remember like watching him play too as well. Now that he comes to mind,
Listen,
and this was what 2014. Yeah, this was 2014. Look at
I'm
the players.
I'm gonna say something controversial. He should have won it over Trout.
He makes the case. I mean, he has the
He
open.
should
I
have won
mean,
it over Trout. He was a DH, so he wasn't getting any. He wasn't getting the WAR. That's 5.5. That's pure. That's pure offense, baby.
and Trout has the WAR. Like
But
I guess
he's
the reason
bad.
why Trout won it over is because yeah, like you said, he was a DH. So Trout was going to win it because he had the edge. Like, all right, like he's playing more defense. Martinez is just being used as a hitter.
Yeah,
Like,
and I guess it's
you know,
close enough.
like the WAR is there, like the 7.7, and then leads the league in runs, and he has a good stat line. It's not pretty bad. Wow, he was hitting three. It sucks as he was
That's
hitting
kind of what I'm looking.
335.
I'm looking at. Wait a minute. He hit 4 less home runs
And Altuve
in
is really
6
coming
less
into
games.
fruition. You see, he was hitting 3 for 41. That's pretty. He was coming into fruition at that time.
Yeah.
And then
I
Nelson
think
Cruz,
Victor.
man, look at him. Wow, he was racking it up at Baltimore at that time.
I think he was only on that team 1 year.
Let's take a look. Let's see if he was. Just real quick now, not to get off track. Was he on Baltimore? He's still playing. That's insane.
The picture is still following. That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
1 year.
he's only done 1
14.
year. Okay. Yeah, it's
All right. Vimar might have gotten robbed 1 year. Okay.
so he had a good
Now
career.
all the people in the comment sections are going to be flipping out. He said something bad about St. Trout.
Makes a good case, but
Good career from Victor Martinez.
good career. It's gonna be tough. Maybe he gets voted in down in the future committee. So I wouldn't shut him away yet.
I think he's one and done.
Yeah,
I think this year it's too crowded, the ballot. I don't think you could argue Vimar ahead of 9 other guys or ahead of other guys. Good career. Good career.
all right. Next player.
Okay, next up on the docket, we have Mr. Joe Mauer.
Wow, Joe Mauer.
The elite catcher.
Okay.
This is a good one, man.
Okay.
This is a good one. The argument for Joe Mauer is very simple. Half his career, he was a catcher, right?
Okay. Yeah.
About half, a little more than that.
Mm.
He's 7th all-time in wins above replacement for catchers, trailing Johnny Bench, Hall of Famer, Gary Carter, Hall of Famer, Ivan Rodriguez, Hall of Famer, Carlton Fisk, Hall of Famer, Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer, Yogi Berra, Hall of Famer. He is ahead of 12 Hall of Famers in wins above replacement. Bill Dickey, Gabby Harnett, Ted Simmons, Roy Campanella, Roger Brentsahan, never heard of him, Josh Gibson, Ernie Lombardi, Rick Farrell, Biz Markie. Wait, what? And another website I had him being ahead of a lot more.
But that's insane, though. I'm just looking at his stats right here. I think he has the case to make it in right away.
Yeah. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He has to be first ballot. Look at this.
And
look at 2009.
And that was as a catcher. So the offensive curve for catchers, we all know it's never been high.
Gold Glove too, and Silver Slugger. Let's take a look at 2009. Let's take a look at that year. So he went up against Teixeira and Jeter and Miguel Cabrera. Kendrick Morales. That's insane.
7 point. Yeah, Kendrick Morales was a bucket. 7.8 as a
Jason Bay as well.
Is yeah, that you guys signed him. 7.8 WAR as a catcher.
We did sign him. Yes. Just look at these.
That's a
insane.
real lot. 96 RBIs, 365 batting average, 28 homers, OPS 1.031. The one thing, if you look at him, the homers were always inconsistent. They were never high. and that might hold him back a bit. Because when you think of all-time great hitters, you usually think of home run hitters, or you think of guys that hit like 3,000 hits, 2,800 hits. Mauer didn't really have the kind of durability to get those kinds of stat lines
I just want to
that
note
other guys would
something.
have.
I just want to note something before we go back to him. Mariano Rivera is on this.
Yeah.
He was ranked high. He was 14th.
44.
Because of 44 saves. Yeah, like I just think that's crazy. He was ranked pretty high.
Look at the year Zach Greinke had, huh? 10.4 ERA.
My God, that's
WAR,
insane.
2.16 ERA.
Yeah,
I can't wait when that guy's on the ballot. That guy, they were talking about it once, and people were like, I don't know if Zach Greinke's a future Hall of Famer. I'm like, I don't know if you should have a vote, my man.
We'll talk about that when
Washington
he's on the
State.
ballot in the future.
Yeah,
But
still free agent.
yeah. So yeah,
But yeah,
just Mauer. He has. I mean, the hits are there. I mean, he's over
right.
2,000. That's a pretty good. And like you said, he's just one of the best catchers ever to do, and especially in our generation.
Oh, definitely of our
You know,
generation.
yeah,
He's
like and he played a while too. Like down the end of his line, I think he was like a above average player at least. Maybe not in his prime as he used to be, but he was still consistently good. Am I right?
yeah. I mean, you look at the batting average; it never really dipped. Obviously, you see 2015 265, 261, 305, 282. We all know that the batting averages of the 2010s dropped off significantly than generations past.
Right.
And we're still in that deficit of batting average. 365 out of the catcher position. You'll
Wow.
take
Yeah,
that, man. You'll take that is a banner year, dude.
that's
328,
insane.
347.
Yeah.
3 batting titles as a catcher. That is high, man. That is high.
You don't see that ever, really, honestly.
You don't. 143 career home runs. You look at it, really, that 2009 was his only good home run year. That's not great. I could see maybe somebody dinging him for that. If you want to scroll down to postseason batting, I don't remember him being like a postseason guy, but also Minnesota, they never really performed well in the postseason anyway. So how much of that blame could you really put on him? Is that fair? All right. 275 career in the postseason, 3 ALDS, 1 wild card. Not bad.
Wow, most of them against
275.
the
Excuse
Yankees
me, not
too.
375. 275. All right.
Did the Yankees play who did the Yankees play that year in the ALCS?
In
Was it the
09?
Angels?
Yeah, the Angels.
I had a feeling.
I could be wrong, but I think we wiped the floor with them.
Yeah, that was I mean, just looking at wow, yeah, you guys swept them like 3 straight years too.
4 straight years.
I don't think he won a playoff game.
2009, 2010, we swept them.
That sucks. He deserved.
Oh yeah, no, he never. I don't think he ever did.
That sucks. He deserved a playoff win, if anything. Like he deserved at least to get to the World Series or at least advance.
Yeah.
Another
guy played his whole career with one team. The voters like that. I think he's going to get it on the first ballot.
Oh, he has
I
a great shot.
don't know how he can't be.
He has a great shot.
I know it doesn't mean much. I think he's the best catcher of the 21st century.
Yeah, no, you make the argument. Him and Buster Posey, maybe Mike Piazza,
yeah. So I like him. I always liked him. And yeah, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Pettitte. Here's your guy, Andy Pettitte.
There you go.
Andy Pettitte. Man, I like Andy Pettitte. He's the Robert Horry of baseball, and he's even better than Robert Horry. So for those of you who don't know, Robert Horry won 7 NBA championships, and a lot of people was not a great player. Never made an All-Star game. Wasn't a great player. Didn't even average. I don't even think he averaged double-digit points for his career. I just shooting from the hip here. But he won 7 championships. 2 with the Rockets, 3 with the Lakers, 2 or 3 with the Spurs. Really good player. That's kind of what Andy Pettitte was. He didn't win a Cy Young Award. He came in second in 1996 to some cat from the Blue Jays who I've never heard of until tonight. I had it. Pat Henson. And he deservedly lost. Pat Hentgen was a bucket that year. 8.6 WAR, 3.2 ERA, 20-10 record, 10 complete games. It was a different era. And, Andy, the thing with him is you look at the ERA, 3.85, not great. 3.81, I think, in the postseason. But I just want to – all of this is okay. Fourth in Cy Young Award voting in, was it at 99? Second in 96. He finished fourth in Cy Young Award voting one year. Didn't make the All-Star game. Go figure. 3 All-Star games. He should have won more. He should have been to more.
Jason Giambi.
I'm not sure who beats. If it's a PED user, he. And I want to say, the only thing keeping him out of the Hall of Fame is that he used HGH in 2002 and 2004 to come back from injuries. He got caught, owned up to it right away. I don't recall if he was suspended or not, but he owned up to it right away. Said, "Yep, mea culpa," and didn't blame anybody. Stand-up guy said, "Yeah, you caught me. I wanted to get back. I thought I had an obligation." I think the wording he uses, "I believed I had an obligation to my teams, so I tried to get back as quickly as I can, and you caught me." So honorable guy. I think that he owned up to it and whatnot when nobody else did. This is all good stuff. I love the late career resurgence, age 40, 2.87 ERA. And when we played the Rangers in 2012 in the postseason, or was it Tigers? I forget who it was.
Tigers.
When we played the Rangers in 10 and we played the Tigers in 12, he was our best pitcher. He really showed up. It's Andy Pettitte on the mound in October. And if you scroll down to his postseason pitching, this is mind-blowing to me. He played 18 seasons in Major League Baseball.
My God.
Eight World Series. His career average, if you take a 162 game average, 33 starts per season, 44 postseason starts. He played in more postseason starts than his average for a 162 game season. His postseason stat line is literally like a season and a half, almost a season and a third. Just look at this. 3.81 ERA, not great.
Yeah.
But what you will kind of counter with is, like I alluded to earlier, Yankee Stadium in a time where runs were scoring higher than they are today. Okay, fine. And pitchers are pitching longer into games, which hurts your ERA a little bit. So it is what it is. He's a borderline case to begin with, statistically. I would have him in because he's a winner. And same thing with Jorge Posada. At what point do we say winning actually matters in this sport? 5 World Series rings and 8 appearances. 7 with the Yankees, 1 with the Astros in 2005. And in 2005, he was the best pitcher on the Astros in the postseason. Pretty clearly. He had a 3 ERA in the World Series. And I think they lost in 5, or they might have been swept by the White Sox. Roy Oswalt and Roger Clemens didn't really show up.
He had a good ERA, 3.81 in the postseason.
44 games. That's insane. And that's what it's going to come down to is, or do voters value his winning in the postseason more so than the steroid or the HGH allegations? 16-11 in the postseason, or 19-11 in the postseason. Listen, as a Yankee fan, I'll say it right now. When he was on the mound in October, you felt good. You felt good. I don't care what the stats were. You felt good. So,
just how it is.
That's my Andy Pettitte piece.
Okay.
If we value winning and we value getting wins and things like that in the postseason, and we're playing for that quote unquote piece of metal, everybody got offended when the commissioner called the trophy, the commissioner's trophy, a piece of metal in 2020. Everybody got offended. Yeah, guys like Andy Pettitte and Jorge Posada and Bernie Williams aren't in the Hall of Fame. Maybe it's a Yankee bias, But I'm saying right now that the greatest dynasty the sport has ever seen, having only 2 Hall of Famers on their roster, is blasphemous in Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera. How many guys from Don Shula's Dolphins are in the Hall of Fame? How many guys from the Steel Curtain Steelers are in the Hall of Fame? How many guys from the Vikings, the Purple People Eaters that didn't even win a ring, are in the Hall of Fame?
It's true.
How many Celtics from the 50s are in the Hall of Fame? Almost the entire roster. At what point do we say it actually matters?
Right.
That's the argument for Andy Pettitte. Does winning matter? And if the answer to you is yes, then he's a Hall of Famer, with or without HGH. If he used it to get back from an injury, which I have no reason to doubt him on, he's basically the only player up until now, even, to actually own up to it and not give some BS excuse about cheating. And honestly, I don't even mind somebody using stuff to get back from an injury.
He was great.
Guys were using amphetamines in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Guy wants to use HGH so he could throw. Who cares?
Why did he come back to the Yankees in 2007?
I think it's because Houston blew it up. And I think he was a free agent.
Yes,
if I recall the story, that's what it was.
Yeah, why not have a better way than just come back to the team that got you there, you know?
Also, Yankees were a more stable franchise. So, I mean, do you want to keep pitching in October with all your best friends who you grew up playing with? Or do you want to play in Houston? And he's from Texas. Originally, his last game was against the Rangers in Arlington. It was his last game as a player.
Okay.
And now he has some kind of like advisory role with the Yankees. And he was the pitching coach of the 2023 World Baseball Classic roster. So, I mean, he's still involved with it. One of his kids got drafted, I think, by the Yankees. I think one of his kids were on the Yankees, minor leagues.
Yeah.
But I know one or two of his kids got drafted by teams. So, heck of a career. I'm very excited to see if he ever gets in. I think even if he falls off the ballot, I think he gets in by a committee.
Right.
I think he's a Hall of Famer at some point.
I think he's definitely got a good shot.
Only thing keeping him out is HGH.
I think when you think of the 90s, you know, that dynasty that the Yankees had, and especially in the 2000s, you think of Andy Pettitte. One of the players you think about. Do you say Bernie Williams, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Paul O'Neill, all those players, Tino Martinez, he was one of the players, you think of his name is brought up. So, and I think he had a pretty good career, I don't know why, I don't think the stats need to be like they're pretty mind boggling, but I don't think they need I don't know what the writers be looking for when they think of him. Like, he looks like a decent enough player. Like, I think he makes a good case to get in. Maybe he won't be first year. I don't know if it's this year or maybe it might be not next year, but he's going to get in. I think he's going to get in at some point.
They were talking about him on MLB Network about a week and a half ago, and they were saying, I forgot who it was. It might have been Joel Sherman. I forget who. Or Tom Verducci. One of them was saying that few things in that era of baseball were as iconic as Andy Pettitte standing on the mound, glove over face in October, and just a frosty breath coming out from behind the glove. It happened so many times. The guy played in so many big games in the postseason. And the cold Northeast, it was just always, you just always saw the guy pitching in the postseason.
Yeah.
Just always did. And that's kind of what I'm saying is it comes down to how much do you value winning. If you value championships, he's a Hall of Famer. If you just care about the back of the trading card, he's not. I'll be the first one to admit it. It's purely built on the postseason for him. Which is weird because there's not too many guys like that. I'm curious when Madison Bumgarner, when his time is called, if he ever gets in. Jack Morris got in mostly on his postseason resume. Granted, he won some Cy Young awards, I think 1 or 2, kind of undeservedly. Dave Stieb should have won one of them, and I think Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens could have won the other.
But anyway,
that's digression. It's interesting. So,
right.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, next player.
Next on the docket, Brandon Phillips. How about Brandon
Wow.
Phillips? Huh? He's on the ballot. Good for Brandon. Hey, that's a big win for you guys. A
It's a
Brandon
big
on the
win. Big
ballot.
win for the Brandons. Yeah.
Yeah, the Brandon contingent.
Wow. Okay. He started off his career in Cleveland.
A lot of Cleveland guys on here, huh?
A lot of Cleveland guys. Yeah. They all
Good
start
mix.
off their careers in Cleveland. They, nothing against them, but they'll
It's
go
like I
off and
said,
um, they go
oh,
off and they
the king
have
of
success for other
Ohio,
teams.
Cleveland and Cincy. I wonder how many guys did that. The Ohio circuit. All right.
Yeah, yeah, that was his place.
275 batting average, 2,029 hits in
Wow.
17 years. He's not getting in. He may not get a single vote. I love Brandon Phillips. Heck of a career, man. Heck of a career.
Yeah.
Really good defensive player, not getting in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he won a Silver Slugger, made a couple All-Star games, finished top 25 in MVP voting twice. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Not
he's
getting
got a shot. No, I don't know if he's gonna get in. It's gonna be tough. I mean, when you got other players.
The thing that hurts him is sort of a late bloomer, right? 25 when he started getting pretty good, and then just was never like like an elite top tier player. I do have to say, watching him play with the Reds during his career, I always thought very favorably of Brandon Phillips. I really
Right.
liked him. Him, Frazier, Bruce, Votto on those Reds teams, they're fun to watch. Johnny Cueto, Bronson Arroyo, I think was on that team still. Homer Bailey. They had guys that were pretty decent for them, but they just never won or anything like that. Brandon Phillips, heck of a career.
All right.
I don't know unless, of course, you have any anecdotes.
I don't think there's really anything else to talk about. No, I agree with kind of what you said. I mean, great careers, but it's going to be a little tough for him to make the. It's going to be a tough case for him to make the Hall of Fame, make it to Cooperstown.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Thank you, Brandon. Heck of a ball player. Manny Ramirez. This is an exciting one.
This is yeah.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
Wow. Okay. Let's see.
This one comes down to steroids.
Yeah. Oh wow, he's from New York.
12-time All-Star, 2-time World Series winner, 9-time Silver Slugger, World Series MVP, batting title. The most important player on that 2004 Red Sox team. Everybody talks about Big Papi now. He's more well-liked now. He's in the Hall of Fame. He didn't get suspended twice for steroids like Manny Ramirez did. 2004, Manny was 1,000,000,000,000% the best player on the Red Sox.
Yeah,
He was the cover of MVP Baseball 2005, my favorite sports game ever, one of my favorite video games ever, which made me want to do this job.
Yeah.
I love Manny Ramirez. One of my all-time favorite players, Red Sox or not. Love that guy. Great in Cleveland. You look at the RBIs, it's insane. 165 RBIs in the season. 175 OPS plus. Finished third in MVP voting. I don't know who finished first. Bless your heart. That dude should have won MVP. I don't even want to know. There's no way I'm wrong looking at that. He should have won it in 1999. 44 home runs, 165 RBIs, and 174 OPS plus. OPS 1.105. There he is. Oh, so he tied with Roberto Alomar. 2 Cleveland guys, huh?
Pedro Martinez. Wow. Yeah, Martinez had a high WAR. Ivan Rodriguez. I mean, he was really
Listen,
good. He was a really good player back then.
How you can look at Ivan Rodriguez's numbers and Manny Ramirez's number and say that's the guy who's going to win the MVP award? I don't know. 96 walks for Manny Ramirez. Could you imagine this kind of offensive production? And almost 100 walks. And I get it. Once again, Ivan Rodriguez is on the catcher curve.
Oh my God, 165 RBIs? That's insane.
Bro. He should have won the MVP that year. He should have.
So I could, yeah, honestly, yeah,
And maybe if you want to
100%.
say Pedro had arguably the best pitching season ever, sure, whatever. But
He really was great, Pedro. Really,
Manny was something different
man, yeah, he's
and
just,
a fun, exciting player to watch. So we don't have videos like we did for part 1. But when I was getting the videos together for the slideshow, well, not the slideshow, but what we could play and whatever, I spent like an hour and a half getting Manny Ramirez videos. I couldn't stop watching them. Such an exciting player to watch. You know, when he caught the ball, he doubled the guy up. He caught the ball. He's running towards the wall in Baltimore. He climbs the wall, high fives a fan, lands, throws a guy out at second. Dude, that's insane. You know, Manny being Manny, all the, you know, he was a character. He was fun. He was exciting. He was what baseball should have been in a time where baseball was moving away from that, moving away from character and kind of becoming this dark, monolithic, none of these players have personalities anymore
yeah,
type leagues. And he was kind of like one of the, I shouldn't say one of the last guys because David Ortiz and others, but he was one of the guys that kind of fought against that, even though it was probably unintentional. But like a guy that was like not afraid to be himself, go out there, have fun, play the game. It's a game, have fun.
yeah.
The only
If,
problem is suspended twice for steroids.
yeah, that's that's gonna do it. I mean, I know steroids was definitely a big thing with him, throughout his career, and that definitely gonna play a factor into him getting in. You know, I know I remember watching, back in the day. I know that was definitely a big thing. Anytime I was watching ESPN and Manny Ramirez with steroids, it's nonstop. I mean, I know he was definitely crucial for that Boston run. I know whenever I watched a video of, and I'm sorry, it's one of my favorite videos when the Red Sox completed that comeback in the ALCS. Obviously, you hear one of the announcers say, they spread the news, all right, as they're New York playing in the background. And they show all the Red Sox and Manny Ramirez and all those players. That's what that's what I think of when I think of him. So it's definitely, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens. Great stats. It's just that's the one thing. That's a big knock. Steroids, and it's just unfortunate, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So do you think he'll get voted in by committee one day?
If Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, A-Rod, other PED users get in, you have to put him in. You have to. But if all those guys are out, then he's obviously going to be out. He actually, the difference between Bonds, actually, I shouldn't even say that because the difference between Bonds, Clemens, and Manny is that he actually served time for it twice. 3 strikes are out. So that's ultimately basically what ended his career. Because he was just incapable of not taking pets or being linked to them.
Yeah, and he's come on, man. He's got a have resistance, man. But that's what it is. But all right, so obviously Manny, it's gonna be tough. Has the stats, but obviously steroids are gonna get in the way, and it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes in the future. But for now, we move on.
Jose Reyes. I'll shut my mouth on this one. He played for you guys.
Okay.
Talk to me about Jose.
I mean, when I think of Jose Reyes, just I think he definitely one of my childhood players. Um, I think of when just the time at the Mets. I remember growing up watching. So I get into baseball. He was one of the players I loved watching. I know I had a little Met Yankee phase at the time. There was times I liked both teams. There was time I was a Yankee, as a kid, and then obviously 2015. That's when I stayed Mets permanently. I can't go against and I remember when he came back to the Mets, it was great. But obviously, when I think back of Jose Reyes, I think of when obviously he was, the Shea days in '06. And when I think of Jose Reyes, I just think of the electric. He was just electric. He had the speed and the batting average. I think if I just think of the speed, stolen bases were there. I remember 2011, he won the batting title. One of my favorite things is when he got a hit, like an extra base hit, he'd clap, and then he would wave his hands up. I guess just I love doing it. I remember when I got that hit against Scammell, like when I got that double, I did that. I did the Jose Reyes. I was just so excited. So he was definitely he's one of my childhood players growing up, and he's just an electric player. It sucks that he left when he did. He spent a decent amount of time with the Mets. As I pull it up right now, he spent a decent amount of time, but it sucked when he left because obviously it was either him or David Wright, and obviously they David Wright got the extension. He came up when he was 19. That's crazy, and it was against Texas, and he had 2 hits. So you knew right away he was going to be a stud for the team. Just insane. Look at that, 733 plate appearances. That's insane.
I'm surprised that he was only 35 when he retired. Granted, you can look at that last season.
It wasn't necessarily the best. Good.
Especially after the. Oh no, never mind. I was looking at the OBP. I was like, especially man, he had 3 for 15. Then I looked. I was like, nope, he had 246 the year before he retired. Okay.
So yeah, like I said, he just was the triples were there, stolen bases. He was like when you literally think of like players like maybe D. Gordon or those type of players, like he was that, but like he had the average, like he was great. Obviously not a home run hitter, except maybe in like 2006, but no matter what, he was the player to get it done. You needed him to get on base. He was that player. He was a clutch player. Definitely great defense too. Seeing him and David Wright come together, I can go on forever about Jose Reyes, but that's just my take on him. Like I said, it sucked when he left and went to Miami because I know Miami was, they were becoming the Miami Marlins instead of Florida Marlins, and they just, they were signing players left and right, and he was one of those players. It sucked it didn't work out, because obviously he got traded to Toronto with very next, and it was cool when he came back. It would have been great to have him on the 2015 team as well, and it sucks. Like I said, when he left, that's the business, and that's what happens. But I thought it was great when he came back. One of those moments. He was definitely crucial in helping them get to the playoffs that year as well. And he had a decent year at 17. I mean, he had 15 home runs, 58, and decent player. And obviously, just down the end of the line, he just wasn't the same player. But that's what I was. That's what I think on Jose Reyes. What do you think, Dennis?
I remember when he played, I remember him just being like a good, consistent player for you guys. I do remember one thing I remember with him is that he used to, there's one thing, I don't want to get like too like quote unquote like scandalous, but I remember the story that Mets coaching staff, his first Mets tenure, I don't know what year it was, probably 2010 if I had to guess, was mad that they wouldn't send him to steal. He would just go on his own sometimes, and he'd get thrown out a lot.
Well, you said the first Mets tenure?
Yeah, I don't know the exact year, but I remember reading that when I was a kid and hearing that.
Maybe it was what Art Howard was there, the manager?
Probably, I couldn't tell you who it was. Who was the manager?
Or
but that was the only.
Maybe
Bobby Valentine was.
Bobby Valentine, I think it was because Bobby Valentine. I think he got fired on 2003. That was his last season.
Oh, definitely not that then. I don't know who it was, to be honest.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, I remember hearing about that. But he was a good player, and you're right when you're talking about like D. Gordon and guys like that were like fast guys of that era. He was probably the best one. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Alfonso Soriano, but he wasn't stealing like 50, 60 bases a year. He capped that at 40 when he was with the Nationals.
Right.
So of those like speedster types, he probably was the best of that era. And even still today, could you imagine if Jose Reyes played today and you couldn't pick off and the bases were a little bigger? Oh my God. He had 76 stolen bases to begin with.
Yeah.
In 1 year. So it's, man, that's crazy. So he was a very good player.
I don't know if he's going to have the stats to be able to get it.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
It sucks because he I think if he maybe continued with the Mets and didn't maybe have, because maybe stayed consistently on them, he definitely would have been, definitely could have made the case early in his career. Yeah. He was great. Like, it's just the stats, he'd kind of dipped down a bit. Like, he was more of an average player instead of like an elite player, I guess.
Yeah, playing with one team always really helps because when the writers think of you, they think of it because teams romanticize their players. So when it's your guy and you've always had them and whatnot, that mythos kind of builds itself up. You see that with certain guys. When Todd Helton, I saw a clip years ago. I couldn't find it again, or maybe it was in a compilation I
Okay.
found at some point. But I remember Todd Helton when he was exiting his game, and everybody thought that it was he was towards the end of his career. They were openly saying on the broadcast, future Hall of Famer Todd Helton. Same thing with Scott Rowland. They just always referred to them as a future Hall of Famer. So I always thought that was funny with Scott Rowland when they're like, I never looked at him and thought he was a Hall of Famer. It's like all the broadcasters kept saying it. Jose Reyes, bringing it back to him. I think you're right. I think he was with the Mets, I think his career looks a lot different.
It is what it is. But
I think he's going to, him going to the Marlins and with Mark Burley and Heath Bell, and I think one other guy who they picked up, and it's being a colossal failure, then going to the Blue Jays and going back to the Mets when he was past his prime. It really is. The ending was bad, and I think that hurts his legacy because you're right. Those first 7-8 years when he was with the Mets, his first time around, he was elite. He was one of the best shortstops in the league during that period of time.
Him and David Wright coming together, like I said, it was one of the best shortstop, third baseman tandems ever.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the Mets, is David Wright the next person we're going to talk about?
Definitely not. We have a few more ahead of him.
What's the next player?
Jimmy Rollins. Oh, no, I'm sorry. A-Rod. A-Rod.
The Alex Rodriguez?
The Alex Rodriguez.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Aaron Rodgers, who people suddenly started calling A-Rod. Kind of mad about.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been Aaron Rodgers has been called out for a little bit.
That's stupid. All right. So A-Rod, the real A-Rod. 3 MVPs, 14-time All-Star, 2009 World Series, 2 Gold Gloves, which is way lower than it should be. 10 Silver Sluggers, a batting title, 3-time TSN Toronto Sports Network Major League Player of the Year. Good for you, A-Rod.
Let's get the claps from from. There we go. We got the
perfectly timed.
Perfectly timed.
Imanaga opening press conference is what we're looking for. Career 117 and a half WAR. Hits 3,115. Home runs 696. Career batting average 695. OPS plus 140. RBIs 2,086. Statistically, he is not just a Hall of Famer. He is arguably the greatest player to ever put on cleats. He is that good. He was
that good.
You tell me, almost 700 home runs and 3,000 hits. You tell me.
Do you think so? I mean, but the one thing everyone knocks him for, Dennis,
is the steroids.
If
he gets in, it's going to be his 10th year on the ballot or by the committee, and he's not getting in any other way. He should, but he's not.
He has a shot, though, what are you saying?
He's got a shot. Just look at it. Just look at the baseball reference. Led the league in home runs, 3 times? 4 times?
5 times. The home runs, five times.
Statistically, one of the best defensive shortstops ever. Wasn't getting Gold Gloves. Tough era for American League shortstops. Obviously, up until 2003 when he went to the Yankees. Omar Vizquel, Nomar Garcia-Parra. And there's always that one guy, the one forgotten guy who I forget clearly.
He's definitely one of the best. 100%. He's definitely one of the best players.
Jeter,
he's definitely one of the best players. Definitely. Just sucks the home runs, like the steroid thing kind of knocked. It really, I think when I think of players in the steroid era that got blasted for it, he was one of the players to get knocked, blasted for it by the media, by the fans. They really
and truthfully, he was really the only one. The only one that served a suspension and got really torched for it.
Then I feel like when he retired,
I think it's because he lied about it so vehemently for a while, which you shouldn't do. And not only that, but he also sold a lot of guys down the river, man. He sold Francisco Cervelli down the river. I remember that.
Really?
Yeah, he ratted out on Cervelli. And Cervelli supposedly was pretty pissed. So was a lot of the Yankees. You don't do that to your teammate. It was kind of how they felt. I remember as a kid when that happened, I thought to myself, Jesus, Cervelli should get a freaking refund. That's what I said. I like Cervelli, but that guy couldn't hit out of the dirt.
Damn.
So,
yeah, I remember Cervelli too. Yeah,
I liked him, but man, he couldn't hit out of the dirt.
Yeah. So but now it's crazy though. For A-Rod, it's just his his career. It's gonna be interesting to determine whether I mean, the stats prove it. Yeah, he's one of the best players to put on a cleat. Just that's one thing. Did he use them later in was it his whole career, or was it like
supposedly only when he got to the Yankees or his last year in 03? I think supposedly it was 03 was the year he started using them.
Yeah, he definitely. I think it was cool when I saw him play in 2011. I thought that was pretty cool. I remember that was against that was against the Mets. I thought it was really cool. Saw a lot of players. So I mean, I'm glad to say I saw one of the best players play.
Yeah, and statistically, he is the best shortstop ever if you look at it a lot.
But then he converted to third base, obviously, right?
Then he converted to third base, and the whole A-Rod third base thing. People, I have to set the record straight as a Yankee fan because people don't understand it. People say, oh, and then Derek Jeter didn't want to move over, so they put A-Rod at third. That's not it. Like people always say, like the Yankees, they put A-Rod at third base. He's the best shortstop ever. Why would they do that? To knock like Brian Cashman or whatever. The reason why they moved him to third base is because he was a better power hitter than Jeter. They wanted him to bulk up and focus on his power.
Okay.
By bulking up, you lose the agility and quickness required by shortstop. So they put him to third base. That's what happened.
Okay. Well,
don't take my word for it. Watch the Captain documentary when A-Rod literally says it. So that's what happened there. Right, but yeah, when moving to third base killed him because then he would just get in and say, whatever, you don't need steroids to be an excellent defender, and he's great. But that's what it was. All right, moving on. Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, another Met. Talk to me about K-Rod.
One thing I remember about K-Rod, it's let's say Francisco Rodriguez. I know I don't think he was a beloved Met. I mean, he only had 2 years with them, 3 years. I know it was not an easy tenure to be, or actually no, he was decent. Actually no, he had some decent.
He was decent with you guys.
He was decent.
You guys hate your freaking closers.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we don't love our.
Oh my God.
We hate. I mean, but unless they perform for us, and then obviously it's
I never want to see an Edwin Diaz jersey at Citi Field. I would publicly shame anybody that wears an Edwin.
You could shame me if I ever get it. I mean, the only jersey I'm not even gonna get a Pete Alonso jersey yet because I don't know if he's gonna be on the team. I'm fine with my Mike Piazza. I love my Mike Piazza. He was a player.
I got a Piazza jersey.
A legend. Like he's a legend. He played when we were born. Like how do you not? As a Met fan, I'm happy to have a Piazza jersey, and I'll gladly wear it as much times as I want to Citi Field. If I get a Diaz jersey, you could publicly shame me for it. You can when we're at the games and you.
My only thing is, if I saw someone with a Diaz jersey, I would immediately ask them, did you consider buying that jersey before 2022? If the answer is no, kick rocks. Because the way Met fans talked about, and not my words, and lose Diaz, everybody said it. The second he did good, the second he came out to Timmy Trumpet, people acted like it was Raleigh freaking Fingers himself. And I hated it. Because I remember going to Met games in 2019 with the little Robinson Cano and Ed Luz Diaz Souvenir Cup I still own, having more faith in that freaking guy than any of you 7-line Army nitwits. I had more faith in that kid than anyone else.
It took time because it took time. But with Diaz, I think it just took time for him to get adjusted to the New York market and everything. It was tough. It took time for him to kind of adjust to New York, and then 2022 came, and the rest is history. But not getting, like I said, getting back to K-Rod, maybe he just never adjusted well to. I mean, the stats were decent. He had
remember
a
him being like very good.
ERA is actually pretty good. He had a good ERA. He had
Yeah.
at least 2010. Yeah, he was 220, and he had how many saves he had? Yeah, I mean, he had 25. It was decent. A decent amount.
Why don't you look at that 2004 or 2005, whatever it is,
He
with
was a
the
great
Angels,
closer.
or 2009, the year he had
Oh my
65,
God, 182, 1.82.
65 saves record, most ever in a season.
Really, 62?
Most ever. That's it. 62 most ever saves in a season.
I didn't know that.
He should be a Hall of Famer.
I agree. I mean, you know what? The saves are good. Crazy that he was a Met. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He has, yeah, you know what I mean? And he won a World Series in 03, right?
In 02.
02, right. It was 02.
He closed it out as a rookie. 20 years old to close out the World Series.
Mm.
No, actually, he didn't close out the World Series. I shouldn't say that. But he got 6 outs. And one of the games, I think he struck out Barry Bonds. It's a 20-year-old.
I thought I had the stats up.
They love that Shuta Imanaga. They really do.
Yeah, they can't get enough of it.
They can't get enough of him. They love that.
Definitely, I think he makes a good case to be in it.
Third most saves ever,
Yeah.
only behind Trevor Hoffman and Mariano Rivera.
Crazy. He retired in 2017. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't remember him pitching in 2017. I remember him playing on Detroit, but I thought it happened earlier. I don't remember him. The K-Rod was still playing when I was doing fantasy baseball, and I just can't believe it. Oh well,
yeah,
7.82 ERA. That's probably why I don't.
K-Rod. But yeah, no, it's just I think he definitely makes a good case to be in the Hall of Fame.
2-time reliever of the year award, 6-time All-Star. Career ERA 2.86. Not bad. Not bad. The argument for relievers, and this is something I've seen before. It's not me. I can't say specifically the author. I've seen it by more than one. Closers aren't real pitchers. And I put that in air quotes because I saw that verbatim by a writer once who voted.
Okay.
I think if you believe that, you have zero credibility whatsoever. You can tell me the sky is blue. I think I'm colorblind. Because K-Rod should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. 400 saves, third most ever. Come on.
All right. Next player.
Jimmy Rollins, better than I
Now
thought.
we're getting to Jimmy Rollins.
This is a guy that when I was getting the YouTube clips for part one, it made me realize how good Jimmy Rollins was. We were talked about this in last episode last part rather, about Bobby Abreu and me not thinking he should be a Hall of Famer because, well, not specifically because there's not a lot of clips of him, but because there's not a lot of like moments, iconic moments. Jimmy Rollins, there's so many highlight reel plays that it was unreal. Led the league in triples 4 separate times, won an MVP award. I mean, remarkable. Led the league in stolen bases one year. 264 batting average for his career. Not great, but his peak was all right. 231 home runs. Good, consistent switch hitter. Excellent defense. Really good. 3 straight gold gloves, 4 total for his career. Shortstop, it's a loaded position, especially in the National League in that time. Troy Tulowitzki coming up. Then later on, Trevor Story and some, real defensive savants. Really good. That 2007 was a banner year. Really good player, man. Really, really good player. And if you look at a lot of the advanced analytics and defensive metrics and things like that, and some of the more nitty gritty stats that kind of get convoluted, he is an all-time great, not just Philly, but all-time great player. And had a good career from 2000 to 2016. I had no idea that he started that early. I never realized that. So let me ask you, you're a Met fan. You saw a lot of Phillies Mets games over the years. Obviously, you saw a lot of Jimmy Rollins games. So what do you think about Jimmy Rollins?
What do I think about Jimmy Rollins? Definitely big rivalry with the Mets back in the day. That Phillies rivalry, Phillies Mets in the 2000s, it was big. I know he was a big crucial part in that too. Definitely a great player. You see, he was consistent in terms of playing almost every game, every season. Definitely like Jose Reyes had the plate appearances, at bats, triples, which is insane, and he was more of a home run hitter too. Like 2007 was a good year. He was MVP. You
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Oh
Wow,
yeah. No,
yeah,
I was. I just muted myself. I'm sorry.
just insane. Yeah, he had an insane year. He just had the You see, it's crazy where he beat out Matt Holliday, who had 340.
Yeah. Yeah. This might be one of those years
Like God, Prince Fielder. Like, I mean,
of
whoa.
anti-Rocky years for Matt Holliday. But Jimmy
Hmm.
Rollins still a tremendous season. 41 stolen bases, 30 home runs. Like that's not a bad year. That's an excellent year. So
Good for him winning MVP for that.
yeah, really good player, media guy. If he's not voted in, he'll get in by a committee. Definitely, he's very well liked. Very well liked.
I
He's
think he's
on
got a good
Fox
shot. I don't know if he's going to be
Sports,
first.
TBS
I don't know if he's
Sports,
going to be a
whatever.
first ballot.
No, he's not. He's already ineligible for first ballot candidacy. He was on, I think, 2 years ago or something. He
Okay,
started,
but he has to get in
but
at some point.
definitely, one
He has to get in at
thousand
some
percent,
point.
he's getting in at some point. Loved around baseball. All right, moving on. We have Mr. Gary Sheffield, the only guy who is in his last year
My
of
God,
eligibility. Gary Sheffield,
played for
shake the bat, baby.
played forever.
I loved Gary Sheffield as a kid. Loved Gary Sheffield. The swing, the stance, I loved it. I loved all of it. Forgot
Yeah,
this is a good bar trivia. Rookie as a Brewer. I think a lot of people, myself included, just immediately jumped to when he was on Florida. Started his career off as a Brewer.
most of
Won a
his
ring.
time is with the Marlins.
Won a ring with the Marlins. And then
Yeah,
he kind of bounced around. I don't know what it is, but he came up as a 19-year-old and just bounced around a lot. Finished his career at 509 home runs and 2,600 hits, or almost 2,700 hits. More walks than strikeouts by almost 100. Actually, by 101. More. Oh,
he was good with the.
no, I was way off.
He
Wait
was
a minute.
good
What
with
am
the
I looking at?
Yankees.
Yeah, no, he's got 300 more hits, 304 more walks than strikeouts.
He was good with the Yankees. 2 years. He was all-star for them in 05 and 04.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that his stats were as good as they were because I remember at the time people not liking him, but it was mostly because the defense was bad.
Okay.
He was a very bad defender,
Mm.
like one of the worst defenders ever
He's
in the
played for a long
outfield.
time. I mean, is he close? I mean, it sucks he doesn't have 3,000 hits for the amount of time he's been 22 years. You would have thought he would have. I don't know.
I think that's one of the things that people already would kind of scoff at. The 509 home runs is a magic number. He should get in, but he was
But
named in the Mitchell report in the Balco scandal. PED user.
again, Jesus, come on, man.
Never served a second of a suspension. He was subpoenaed. He testified in front of Congress, the whole nine. Held up his end of the deal. Went on to play another 10 years almost, or 5 years, whatever it was. Never got a suspension, never pissed hot, never any rumors after that.
Mm.
I think that he gets a very bad rep for no reason. If you
Yeah,
actually
no,
look at
yeah.
what's against him, it's not that much. It's not that much. The extent of it really is that he was just associating with guys that were taking steroids. Not too much evidence against him. From what I've read, people have said that there is, but it's nothing too substantial.
Okay.
I love Gary Sheffield. Fun player.
Obviously, I don't think if he doesn't get in this ballot, he makes it in by the committee.
It depends if other PED users are in by then.
We'll see.
There already is a confirmed
Mm.
PED user in the Hall of Fame too. David Ortiz and Mike Piazza. So I don't know. I don't understand the
I
whole
thought it
thing.
was stuff that I thought they didn't think Piazza did it.
He took Andruw. He admitted it in his
Okay.
book. Good on him. He waited to already be in the Hall of Fame before he released the book.
He has a book? I feel like I've
He
seen
came
it.
out in 2015, right after the year after he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He admitted to taking Andruw in his book. Same thing.
Oh
Mark
yeah,
McGwire
Long
got in
Shot.
trouble
That's a
for.
good book. I wouldn't mind if I read into that. I've read the David Wright's book. Maybe I wouldn't mind if I read that book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Moving on.
on.
James Shields, big game James.
Okay.
Another guy who you look at the stats and you think that he's not that good, but if you actually watched him play, he actually was like one of the next big things for a little bit. Just didn't pan out.
He was, yeah, I remember.
Good player, fun player to watch. Good for the Reyes in 2008. Innings eater. Finished third in Cy Young 1 year. One-time All-Star. Good career, not a Hall of Famer. Nobody would make the argument he is. Good career. When he was with the Rays, he was one of the better pitchers in the league for a few years.
Yeah.
That late 2000.
One of the things I remember him for is, you know who bought Tolo Cologne his home run off?
Let me take a guess. James Shields.
It was James
How did I
Shields.
know?
That's what I remember him for. But obviously, no, I remember him like, you know, when we were young and he was coming up in the bow, like he was great for Tampa. He was great for Tampa Bay. He was that guy.
2011, 11 complete games. We're probably never going to see another double-digit complete game pitcher.
Probably not. No, it's insane.
He's the last. He's the last of the Mohicans.
He was third in Cy Young. Let's take a look who was Cy Young that year too.
That's fun. Greinke and Verlander. Is that right?
Jared Weaver. Wow. CC Sabathia. CJ Wilson. Wow.
Dude, I love CJ Wilson.
Yeah, I was talking about him the other day. I don't know who it was too, but I couldn't think of the name of the player. I don't know if it was on here or if it was somewhere else.
Love that guy.
But yeah, he's not a lot of people remember CJ Wilson. I remember when he went to Los Angeles, the Angels. I remember when he left Texas and he went there. So, but that was like a big signing. Wow, CC had a good year too, 224. That's insane. The fact that he didn't, Justin Verlander was going to beat him out of the water. You could tell.
This is around the time where batting averages and runs scored, everything like that, started to really drop off.
Yeah, that was just. He had 251 innings pitched too.
Romero, I remember that dude.
Man, Verlander had an insane.
Romero, oh my god, I forgot that guy existed.
But yeah, it's I don't know, but I don't think he doesn't have a
fun career,
not a Hall of Famer.
Borderline, maybe not even be on like the all-time Rays starting rotation. Might be like a long relief guy on that. Heck of a career. All right. Moving on. We have Chase Utley. One of my all-time favorite players. Best second baseman of the 21st century. Love Chase Utley. Love that guy. And it's not because the whole like, the Mets fans don't like him. I like him. I just like the way he played. He just played hard, man. He just played hard.
Boo.
He was a gamer. Love that guy.
Man, Chase Utley, I just he's definitely not a. He even publicly said it. He came out. He's like, someone asked him like, you don't like the Mets, do you? He's like, you hate the Mets, right? He's like, or I don't know if it was hate, but they said like, you don't like the Mets, do? And he's like, I do. He's like, yeah. He's like, I think it was He's like, you hate the Mets, do? And he's like, I do. I wish I could find the clip.
I think
he and the Mets aren't a good fit. No, they don't like each other. No. It's like, imagine if Alex Verdugo, like with the Alex Verdugo, like him getting traded to to them, like from Boston to the Yankees. It's like, imagine if Chase Utley became a Met.
You guys would love him instantly. He'd automatically become the best position player that ever played for your franchise, aside from Mike Piazza.
Wow, that's harsh.
That's not a hot take.
That's even for you to say. That's harsh.
That's not. He's the best second baseman of the 21st century. Hello. I know people are going to say Robinson Cano. Robinson Cano took steroids. Come on.
He was one of the best. No, I'm not gonna lie. No, he was great.
He was insane. He has the highest stealing percentage of players to attempt more than 120 stolen bases ever. 80%.
Yeah. No, he was.
That's insane.
When I think of him, I remember I was at the
Not that.
game when Syndergaard got ejected because Syndergaard threw behind him,
Tell me.
and that
Which is
game, Chase Utley did utterly wreck us. He destroyed the Mets that game because he had 2 home runs. He won the game for the Dodgers that night. Like he was like, all right, he literally had a last dance MJ moment. He's like, all right, I took that personal, and he wrecked the Mets. He destroyed them that game, and I was there for it. I was there to witness it. It was not fun. So no, I mean it was definitely interesting watching him throughout his career.
the only thing
Especially
with
with against the Mets.
the only thing with Chase Utley is the injuries mounted up. That's the only thing that holds him back. I think he's a clear Hall of Famer. I think he's a first ballot clear Hall of Famer.
He has
Second base is not a great position. I don't know who else is winning All-Stars for second base during this time in the National League. I'm trying to think. I don't know who it could have been. But the fact that he only went to like 4 or 5 All-Star games seems very low to me.
He definitely makes a good case to get in. I think he definitely has a good case to get in, though. Like I said, not to knock Chase Utley, but the Ruben Tejada situation, like David Wright, did say that. Like, when I read David Wright's book, I'm pretty sure that they said like he actually reached out to Chase Utley to talk about it, and it wasn't like he said, like it wasn't like on purpose or anything. It didn't look good. So obviously, Met fans are going to react how they are. And like I said, Chase Utley, it's a big rivalry. Him and the Mets alone. You got something when it's like a Trae Young situation. You know what I mean? Like you made a mark on a team when it's just you as a player instead of the team like having a rivalry with you. But getting back to him in terms of I think he definitely has a good shot to be in the Hall of Fame because
Won a ring.
he has a ring. I think he has enough All-Star appearances. And let me just go back to the stats one more time for the viewers, and just to as we talk about him. He makes a good case. The hits are all right.
204 hit by pitches. I'm sure that more than just the Mets disliked him.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a lot. I think it's going to be tough for him to get in. I don't know when he's going to get in though. I don't know if he's going to be first ballot, but it's very interesting to. I think he has a good shot. I mean, he definitely has a good opportunity to get in. I think he definitely gets in. I don't know if this year, but at some point.
I'll look it up. I think if you actually see his stats in comparison to other second basemen, you'll see what I'm talking about. It is very high. Like he is a very highly rated second baseman. So I think that he's a clear first ballot Hall of Famer.
Really?
I'm trying to get it up now.
Okay. Before that, what's the next player? I feel like we ever. Let's talk about. We definitely should bring up Mo.
Omar Vizquel.
Omar Vizquel. Okay.
Omar Vizquel. This is a tough one. And it's because he's the only player who I would invoke the
oh my God, he played in the league forever.
Oh, if you look at his baseball reference, he's a Hall of Famer. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, let's take a look at this baseball reference. He makes a case. I think he makes definitely a good case.
He should be in.
11 Gold Gloves, 3-time All-Star. He's close to 3,000 hits, 80 home runs. Wow. Okay.
Not a power hitter. The only thing stopping him from getting in, you look up off the field, not a good guy. Got caught smacking around his wife.
Oh my God.
There's a sexual assault allegation, sexual harassment towards a bat boy at some point.
Oh, shoot. Oh my God.
I think it was a mentally disabled bat boy.
Oh my God. That's Jesus.
Not a good guy. And read at your own peril.
Yeah.
Statistically, you look at all this, not a great hitter. You look at the defensive metrics, savant-like. You watch the footage, savant-like. Close to 3,000 hits. Some people would say the batting average isn't really there. He was just a compiler. He played enough games that it's kind of bounced out. Flip side, you played 24 years in Major League Baseball, you ought to get in the Hall of Fame. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's probably at the off-field issues. That's definitely going to play a factor.
The thing that sucks, one, karma is karma, so you get what you deserve. But two, The thing that sucks is he's not going to get in the Hall of Fame, and he should have been in the Hall of Fame 5 years ago. 60 year on the ballot. He should have gotten in the first ballot. 11 gold gloves to go along with nearly 3,000 hits. I don't know. But it also, to be fair, it also could be that maybe he wasn't a good guy. Clearly, he doesn't seem to be, given allegations.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe writers knew that there was a reputation that he wasn't a good guy and he wasn't good to them, wasn't good to teammates, whatever the case may be. Who knows? And that could also play a role in it. That I'm not going to vote for someone who's not a good guy. And it turns out that legally, some of that may be supported. There's been more than one domestic violence thing brought up against him. And I think more than one sexual harassment claim as well. I think there might have been something involving a clinic that he was putting on. So he not a good guy. And once again, I could be wrong. And it could all be made up. Who knows? But only thing keeping him out is him. Nothing he left it all on the field. You got to give him that. Aside from that, nobody would ever say that this guy's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I definitely think it's, I know Cooperstown definitely has a reputation to hold up, so I don't think
right. If we're gonna stop Curt Schilling for being in the Hall of Fame for thoughts and words, you have to prevent someone else being in the Hall of Fame for actions.
Right. Yeah. So I don't like the things I'm hearing about this. It's
not a good guy. But I will say, in terms of the player, to quote my manager Kenny, who I used to work with before he went to another store, if you're going to tell me that in the 90s, looking at that Cleveland roster, the only Hall of Famers were Jim Thome and Omar Vizquel, I'd say, what is the league turned into? One. And two, these people have no idea anything about baseball. That's what my manager said to me when I asked him about Omar Vizquel. This was years ago, before any of this came out. And he said that Omar Vizquel shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because not a day in anybody's life did somebody think he was better than Manny Ramirez. Steroids or no steroids. So already it was kind of a shot in the dark.
Right.
He wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer for a reason, because the statistical argument could be made that he was a mediocre offensive player. But at the same time, too, there's mediocre defensive players that are in the Hall of Fame. So is it really fair to not? Like I said, I keep saying the pendulum's got to swing both ways. So it's a shame, but he brought it on himself. Moving on, Billy Wagner, another Met. Year of the Mets? Is that what this is?
There's a lot of Mets.
Yeah. You guys had a lot on here. You really had one.
How many more players do you want to talk about before we
I mean, I could wrap up Billy Wagner pretty quickly. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Let me bring up stats for the viewers. Seven-time All-Star. Started off his career with Houston. Great Met. 2006, 2.24 ERA. He had 40 saves. Just for not you. He's definitely up there, one of the best closers. It sucks the way his career ended. He should have kept going along. Oh my God. Well, I know he was hurt when he was on the Mets. And then I know they traded him to Boston. Look at that ERA, 1.43.
I'm surprised. I don't know if he retired on his own volition or not. I think that's the word. 71 games and a 1.43 ERA. 422 saves for his career. Pretty good.
I think so.
It's the third or fourth highest ever. Him and K-Rod are third and fourth. I forget the order. But pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. Billy Wagner.
Most every reliever category, most ever for a third baseman, aside from games. I think that's Dan Plesac. Moving on. Last but certainly not least, David Wright.
Okay.
David Wright, go ahead. This is all you. This is your segment.
Right. I don't know why I said when Mariano Rivera, because I saw a video on Mariano Rivera when he's already in the Hall of Fame. I saw a video we had that obviously we can't show, but I saw that. I just want to make that clear because obviously David Wright is Mariano Rivera is in the Hall of Fame. I just saw a video. I thought that what I mean. I saw a video on there, so I thought saw Mariano Rivera. I'm like Mariano Rivera. But now focused on David Wright. Um, it sucks. I feel like it's what could have been. He did a lot in his career, but he should have did more. And it sucks that literally injuries kind of derailed the tail end of his career. He was, it hurt him definitely. Spinal stenosis. It was heart wrenching, crushing. And reading the book on him, he really suffered a lot. Just to play the amount of games he was playing at the tail end of his career, he should have just retired. And when he got to diagnosis, maybe after the World Series, he should have just called it a career because he was fighting nonstop just to get back into. He was literally killing his body. So definitely one of the best Mets ever. One of the greatest, definitely greatest third baseman you could make the argument for in Mets history. If he would have kept playing, he definitely would have been able to get 3,000 hits, in my opinion. He was able to do it. Great average hitter, great contact hitter, home run hitter too. He was insane. Like I said, I've been definitely one of my childhood players. I grown up watching, and I enjoyed watching him. Like I said, great player. Don't think he gets in. Like I said, it's kind of like a what could have been player. Dennis, what do you gotta say?
I think if he ever gets in, it's by committee.
It's by committee. Yeah, I agree.
I think if Don Mattingly's not in, David Wright shouldn't be in. There's very similar. If you look up the numbers, the accolades, everything, very similar players. And I think that if this was the Basketball Hall of Fame and it wasn't just MLB, it was international play, I think he'd get in for what he did in the World Baseball Classic. Captain America, all that stuff. But that's not the way it works. I don't think he gets in. Heck of a player. The one thing I remember watching his game with my friends. We were out at a bowling alley, Levittown Lanes.
Yeah,
the side street.
Levittown. Yeah, I love Levittown Lanes.
And me too. It's a small place. Old. It's got to be one of the oldest bowling alleys. Suburban.
Oh, I agree.
It's an old neighborhood. And I remember watching that game. The Mets take him out in like the third inning or fourth inning. And I remember the rest of the game. This was his last game ever. He gets his curtain call. Yay. The game goes into extras. After he leaves, it is one of the most unwatchable, disgusting pieces of baseball ever played. It is so boring. It was so boring. Me and my friends were watching it. David Wright's last game. We're watching. And I remember thinking to myself, dude, your manager at the time, I think might have still been Collins. Maybe it was
No,
Reyes.
it's Mickey Callaway.
Oh, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that guy feels like crap. Mickey Callaway. Because you took out the guy in Mets history, the position player. Right? It's Tom Seaver here. It's David Wright there for your team all time. For position players, obviously he's number one.
Right. Yeah.
It's what he meant to the team. And you took him out in a game that wound up going into extras. And I think it was his spot was the spot that was the last at bat. I might be wrong on that, but I think the guy who subbed in for him was actually the guy that finished the game.
Yeah, I don't know why they took him out that early. I would have kept him in, honestly. They should have
kept him in. You're home. You were at home for the standing ovation. Get it after the game. I thought it was bizarre. Even when they first took him out, I thought it was bizarre. But I loved watching David Wright play as a kid. He was one of my favorite players.
I agree. Yeah, I loved watching him play. I loved watching him play.
Probably my favorite third baseman ever. All right, Brandon, now it's time. Now it is time. Our votes. Do you have your votes ready?
I can give it to you right now.
All right. I want to hear it. I want to hold on a second. I want to get a little thing going here. All right, go. Who are your votes? Whoa.
If I had to vote, I know it's tough because baseball.
Yeah, 10. You got 10.
I got what?
You can pick up to 10 names.
Billy Wagner's a good shot. Like just 10 names that I think would have a shot.
Who are you voting? Brandon gets a ballot. Who's he voting for?
Who am I voting? So definitely Billy Wagner,
Mm-hmm.
Todd Helton.
Okay.
Definitely Gary Sheffield. I would definitely vote. Andy Pettitte.
Oh, okay. That's surprising.
How really?
I'm surprised that you
I
went
would
with
vote, I
Andy
would vote him
Pettitte.
in. Yeah. Matt Holliday. Mark Barrel.
You can go Mark Burley. Wow, Brandon.
Mark Burley.
You're gonna vote everybody in. You already had 6 names.
We set up to 10.
Yeah, you said up to 10 on the ballot.
I know Cologne would have a good shot, but I don't think they're going to realistically get in now.
No, he never gets in.
I would say the players, if I had to vote 2 players that had a realistic shot, I would say definitely Todd Helton, maybe 3. I would say maybe Matt Holliday, Todd Helton, and Billy Wagner.
Matt Holliday. I'm surprised. I didn't even consider him.
I think he had a good career, though.
That's crazy.
Who
right,
would you put in right now?
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
I have Carlos Beltran number 1. I went in alphabetical order. Carlos Beltran number 1 for me. Career WAR 70.1. To me, it's a miracle he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. But that likely stems from his supposed involvement in the 2017 Astros cheating scandal. He gets my vote. My reasoning is easy. Beltran's 435 home runs are 4th all-time for switch hitters, trailing only Hall of Famers Mickey Mantle, Eddie Murray, and lastly Chipper Jones. Carlos is 2,725 hits, 6th all-time for switch hitters, behind obviously Pete Rose, trailing Eddie Murray again, New York Giants and St. Louis Cardinals great Frankie Frisch, Omar Vizquel, and Chipper Jones once more. Lastly, for his greatness among switch hitters, Beltran's 1,582 runs batted in are 3rd all time. He was gifted enough from slug from both sides. I spent a lot of time writing this. Trailing just Hall of Famers Eddie Murray and Chipper Jones, Beltran has accolades to go along with his superb switch hitting prowess. Winning Rookie of the Year in 1999 when he was with the Royals, won 3 Gold Gloves, won 2 Silver Sluggers, and being named to 9 All-Star games. Carlos Beltran, you are a D-Train Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I went with your boy. I think the fact that he's literally the only player on the Astros to get screwed over is ridiculous.
Do you think he would go in as a Met or an Astro?
Met. I think he'd be crazy not to. But they also fired him, so who knows? Beltran, 3,000 hits. That's a magic number for me, along with his impressive 3,000 hits. He went to 4 All-Star games. Definitely should have gone to more. Late bloomer in his career, but that is what it is. Won 4 Silver Sluggers, played excellent defense, as demonstrated by his 5 Gold Gloves and 2 Platinum Glove awards. Yeah, he's very underrated and underappreciated in his era. I just feel like not a lot of All-Stars. Maybe third base was more loaded in the National League. He was competing against Scott Rowland, Chipper Jones, Miguel Cabrera, and forgotten Cubs legend Aramis Ramirez for awards. Then he goes to the American League, has to deal with A-Rod, Evan Longoria, Mike Lowell, and Eric Chavez. So,
okay.
Yeah. El Coya is his nickname on Baseball Reference. Who knew? Adrian Beltre, you are a D-Train Hall of Famer.
Can't forget about him.
Todd Helton, we already went through Todd Helton. Andruw Jones, I went with. Joe Mauer. The HGH thing kept Andy Pettitte out for me. A-Rod, he's out. Chase Utley, I went with Francisco Rodriguez, Gary Sheffield, Jimmy Rollins, and Billy Wagner. I didn't have notes for them. I spent so much time researching the other ones. I had a whole thing about Todd Helton, but I already covered that, so won't bore you guys. But that's who I have.
I like it. We can't forget about Adrian Beltre.
No, 3,000 hits, he's automatically in. I think you and I, we spent like no time talking about him last part because he's already in. 3,000 hits, he's in. He's got 98% of the leaked ballots, the reporters who put their ballots out.
Mhm.
He's in. 2, Joe Mauer, 82.7. He needs 75% for election. Joe Mauer of known ballots, he would be in 82.7. Todd Helton, 82.1. He would be in. Billy Wagner, 79.8. He would be in. I cannot believe that Francisco Rodriguez isn't up there. I think he should be a Hall of Famer. The argument for him being not in the Hall of Fame because he's a closer is stupid. And it's the only argument that's keeping him out. It's like saying kickers shouldn't be in the Football Hall of Fame. Is it a position? Yes. Okay, then it's a position. Get over it. My thoughts.
I like it.
Should be fun. Should be fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to see my guy Utley get in. One of my favorite players ever, man. Loved him.
I like it. I agree. I got nothing else more to say.
Really. Which player do you think has the worst shot at getting it? Who are the one and dones? I think there's a few guys that don't get any votes this year. I think we're both thinking of the same two guys, probably.
We talked about a lot of players.
We talked about a ton. I don't know if you have the graphic up on your side. I had a picture of like the ballot, the way it looks. It's in alphabetical order. So it was just easier for me to keep track of who it is. But I love Brandon Phillips. I loved watching him play. No. Same thing with James Shields. Same thing with Matt Holliday. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
I feel like Matt Holliday has a good career. He has a good career though.
He had a good career, but I don't think he's.
It's not enough. Wow, that's not enough for D-Train's Hall of Fame ballot. No.
Matt Holliday, you are not a Denny Boy Hall of Famer. Oh yeah, I had a whole little Maury thing in all of them. Yeah.
Okay, but all right, I think that wraps it up.
I think that does it. It's 12:57. I hope so.
All right, you want to wrap us up?
Oh, I would love to. Now I just got to pull it up. I moved so many things around. Okay, we would like to thank you for joining us on another edition of Battin and Chattin. The special Hall of Fame extravaganza is over. Next week, after the award, the Hall of Famers are read, obviously we'll give you our take. So thank you for joining us. For my co-host Brandon Natale and the entire Blackjack Media Group team, I'm Denis Tuohy saying so long, and we'll see you next time.